Today's guest is our psychologist, Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, Dr. Jerry. How are you today?
Good morning, Angel. I am good. I'm good. It's quite a start to the week, and I'll share a little bit more later.
Oh,
Okay.
fantastic. We love that.
Good morning, Angel. Good morning, Angel. Good morning, Angel.
Close.
Almost there, Glenn.
Almost.
All right, so today, Dr. Jerry, we're talking about the psychology of promises. What does that mean?
So, I thought I wanted to go with a very light topic, and then as I prepared, it suddenly became very, very, very
Heavy.
heavy. But to start it off on a very nice note is Glenn kept his promise and took me for a date last week.
Yeah. It lasted all of 58 minutes.
Yeah, I heard
Because
it.
we
You
had
counted.
2 minutes to rush back up to a clinic because she had
An appointment.
Yeah, an
Yeah.
appointment.
Oh, wow.
Very cool, very
Are you
cool.
complaining now?
No, of course not. Of course not. I had my beer, I had my satay.
Right?
I
At
was happy, man.
What was that, 11 o'clock in the morning?
No.
12.
12, okay.
1 p.m.
All right. It was afternoon.
It was
Okay.
afternoon, and that's good. So the psychology of promises, Jerry. What is the psychology of promises?
Yes. So I thought it would be nice to talk about, keeping promises, because a lot of people keep telling me that they are disappointed about this, disappointed about that. And I thought it's something that we've never spoken about, never really put any thought into it. So I thought I wanted to just dive into this topic of what are promises, And if we look at the dictionary, it says, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a declaration that one will do or refrain from doing something. When you're getting old and then suddenly the words just merge into each other. A declaration that one will do or refrain from doing something specified. Or a legally binding declaration that gives the person to whom it is made a right to expect or to claim the performance or forbearance of a specific act.
Okay,
So
two words, Dr. Jerry. Reading glasses.
Okay, I will do that the next time. I am in denial.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so are we trying to say that promises should never be broken or what?
I don't think it is about whether it should or should not be broken. It is for us to discuss today.
Because I'm a firm believer you should always break your promises to your kids.
That's the last thing you do.
Really?
And parents do this all the time.
That's
I'm
very good.
guilty
For
of it.
those parents who are doing it, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Aiyo.
I have a reason why I say this.
Why?
Okay.
I'll tell you on the Big Show TV.
Okay.
So why do you think parents should break their promises to their children?
You train them for adulthood. Because when they become adults, many
is
people
full.
will break promises
Yeah.
to them.
But-
So,
Managing their expectations.
exactly. Exactly.
Personally, I think that's wrong. Because
Why though?
I think
Why?
when you make a promise to your child relies on you to follow through.
It's trust, right?
It's trust,
And
and,
then-
the more promises you break, the harder it is to maintain your child's trust.
Trusting.
And
It's
what
very-
good is that going to do them when they go out?
You can talk to them about people breaking their promises.
It'll only be,
As long as
at
you
the end of
don't
it, it'll
do
only
it,
be,
yeah.
oh yes, Daddy never broke a promise to me. But the whole world,
Yeah, then you grow
they're
up entitled.
all breaking their
No,
promises.
I don't think it's you don't
Nothing
grow up
what-
being
it's-
entitled
it's
at all.
just
No.
overrated.
That's
It doesn't
spoiling.
What do you
No,
think, Jerry?
but promises do not equate to spoiling a child or a
No,
person at
not
all.
at
That's got
all.
nothing to do with it at
No,
all.
But you know what I mean? It's
I know.
overrated. I think it's overrated.
It's train hard, fight easy.
I think
that mentality.
people say the words "I promise" too quickly.
They don't think about it.
Yeah.
They don't think about
no,
what
because
they're saying.
usually the question is asked, promise?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But people are like they'll just say, "Oh, I promise," just to shut the person up.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what
Which is
happens
wrong.
when, because we don't have kids, right? Okay, but you guys
for
have kids,
yourself.
right?
Yeah.
Jerry, FD, Angel. So the kid comes up to you and asks you for something and you go like, okay. And then they go like, promise? So what's the
I'll
response
say I'll
usually?
try my best, depending on
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you.
I'll do-
You
I'll
say
do
you
my
try your
utmost.
best.
Yeah.
That's what you say. I'll try my best.
That's a good borderline, just in
Yeah.
case you can't get it done, at least you haven't promised.
means no
you haven't
lah, so we know it's no
It could
already.
also mean no, but it's a lighter way of
Yeah.
letting them down. Yes.
Jerry, what do you
Really?
think?
I agree with Angel. It's sometimes we cannot give a promise, but we can promise to put
To
in
try.
that effort. Yeah. So
Then
that
what if
effort-
you promise and then you have to break your promise?
Then
How?
you apologize.
You
But
apologize and
my
explain
promise
why.
is that I would try.
Yes.
My promise isn't that I'm going to do that task.
Yeah, but what if you don't say you will try? What if you say yes, I promise, and then
You break it.
you break it?
Yeah. So then it's on the person. So there's two parts to it, the giver and the receiver, right? So oftentimes why people are disappointed because they receive it and they have a lot of assumptions or expectations.
Yep.
Right? So when you make a promise, there are two parts. The person that makes the promise is making that promise, and I hope it's out of valuing the other person, because when I promise, I value the other person, okay? And the other person receives not just the promise, but the understanding that I am being valued and therefore you're giving me this gift. So I have a whole host of assumptions and expectations that I want from the person that makes the promise. So that's where there's two parts and it becomes sticky, because by definition itself, a promise is just a statement that you give to the other person that you agree to do in the future. It's neutral as that. But when the people that makes it or gives it puts value to it, there's a whole lot of other implication. Then the one that makes the promise will feel, if they break it, right, they would feel horrible about themselves. And I like that, Glenn, when we first started, just before we came on, and you said the broken promises are usually to myself. And it's so true, because you break the promises that you make, and it is on you. It is not on someone else.
Yeah.
So it's okay to break promises to yourself, but it's not okay to
No,
break
no,
promises
no.
to other people?
Not at all.
No?
No, because when you break promises to yourself, what are you telling yourself? That you're not good enough, that you are a failure, and that's what many people feel. Yeah.
I got to say that when I've broken promises to myself, I tend to make excuses for it. But I did have an experience. I always end up opening up on this show, and I have no
It's okay.
idea why.
It's all right.
Tissue paper,
Tissue,
please.
tissue, come.
Tissue paper.
No,
Yeah.
you don't realize what the person or the person listening, the person that the promise is made to, you don't realize how
Means
important
to
it is until they turn to you and use these words. I guess I'm not important enough for you to keep your promise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
kills you. It just
Yeah.
kills you. Suddenly you go, oh my God, what have I just done
But
to
you
this person?
are so important,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And you just go, what have I done to this person?
So how do you fix that, Jerry? I mean, I think we've all broken promises to important people, but it's not to say that they're not important. It could have been a certain situation or circumstance or place in your life that you were at the time that you couldn't make that promise happen.
So how can we keep a promise, right? So if we jump to that for a little while, three things that we can do. One, be calm, not impulsive. Because I think, Angel, you really hit the nail on the head when you said many times we say promise, promise, promise. It's not even I promise, it's just promise, promise, promise. And then you forget about it because there is no intent in making that promise. It is a very dismissive action. So when we make promises, let us be calm and not impulsive. So
I think
that's the first.
promises are so like 1980.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like in the 80s, everyone would go like, okay, promise, let's make a promise.
Pinky
These days, yeah,
promise.
pinky
Promise.
promise. These days, right, nobody really makes promises anymore.
Yeah, they
Not
understand.
so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you don't go into, for example, a relationship and go like, oh yeah, you promised this, you promised that. No.
Yeah.
No, now
we
it's
sign
not something
contracts.
that's really said
It's not
anymore.
because
yeah.
people don't want to be disappointed. You see, so they don't want to get themselves in that position to begin with. Back to the Big Show and the Big Show TV. We've been chatting with Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room, and Jerry, your mic quite sensitive this morning. We can hear everything that you're doing, on your desk.
Yes.
Putting down your flask, just jotting something down.
Yeah, we can hear
It's
the
like
writing
just
as
a
well.
We can
table,
hear
yeah.
everything.
She's looking around. confused.
We were looking around.
First, it was not sensitive, and now it's
It's
too
super.
sensitive. Ayo.
Don't worry about it,
Your mind
Jerry.
needs therapy also.
Yeah. So on the Big Show TV earlier, Glenn was talking about how
People don't make promises.
yeah, they don't say the words "I promise" anymore because it's so like 2000, right? Is that true?
1980.
No, okay, 1980s, 1970s, whichever. But I feel like if someone asks me, "Do you promise? Do you swear? Are you sure you're going to do this?" I feel I don't have to say, "I promise I'm going to do it," because if I say something, I'm going to do it.
Yes, yes.
So-
So we need to know our limits. So that's the second one. The first one was be calm, not impulsive. The second one is to make these promises within the limits. Don't overpromise. Most of the time, we think we are superheroes and we overpromise. So don't. But it's definitely necessary. If the contracts are not fulfilled, we won't have our shops open. We won't have the Big Show TV that comes on every single morning. Right? You kept that promise to all the listeners and all the viewers. So that is a promise that is being kept day after day.
Sometimes we make promises without saying we're making a promise.
Unspoken
I
promises.
don't know. You guys promise, not me. I make no promise whatsoever because things can change so very fast. But I'm committed. I'm committed to doing this for
And I think
for as long
And I
as,
think
as
that's
we
one
can.
of the good things about you. I think a lot of people today will not promise
Yeah.
because they will not want to commit.
Commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some people, every like
Don't
6
want
months
to
something
commit.
changes. 7 months
Exactly.
something changes.
Yeah, I'm a millennial. We're part of the see how generation. Anything we just say see how.
See how actually hey, that's
Now,
that's good.
when was the last
Oh,
time you
yeah.
said "I promise," Sean?
Wow, very long ago. I know. Don't never make promises.
Never make promises.
Yeah.
Like even if you can keep them.
Even if I can keep them. If I can keep them, then I'll just do it them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have
You
to
would
say
do-
that
you
I'm-
don't have to
I'm
say
So
it.
if someone
making
says
this-
you promise, Sean, you just go like
I
see how.
Yeah, I see how.
So what if like one day you get married? You gonna take your vows and say, "I promise to love you forever"?
I won't say forever. I'll just see how.
See how. You're right. I'm with you.
Then what's the
See
point?
how.
Then what's the
We
point?
try. If can.
Yes.
If cannot, then
But that's like
No.
protecting yourself, right, Dr.
Yeah.
Jerry? Because you're gonna say, you know what, I never promised you anything, and if I'm gonna break it, then I never said I swore I'd do it anyway. That's kind of selfish, isn't
Yes.
it?
No, I think we don't understand the word promise, you see. So we make it, so we only have make and break. Okay? What happens if we fall short? Then we classify under break, right? Or what happens if we exceed? Now, this is the interesting thing. So a study was done, right, that if someone exceeds an expectation, they actually don't get more gratitude or more appreciation. Now, if we are doing something more, the one that makes that
Effort.
the
Commitment.
effort to keep that promise, right? And we do beyond that. Are we expecting? So touch our hearts, right? Are we expecting more gratitude or appreciation or validation. Now, that is important because you're not going to get more. Because on the recipient side, on the receiver side, the promise has already been fulfilled, and that is good enough. That is so strange. That is very, very interesting. But perhaps the one that makes the promise is not worried about breaking the promise, but not obtaining the validation afterwards.
And the gratitude, because you do these things not you should not, well, I won't say shouldn't, but people need to do things not expecting a thank you, right? I mean, you do it from the bottom of your heart.
Okay,
for
I've
want of a
got
better
a
term,
comment
Oh,
on that when
man.
we come back.
Okay.
got
You
a
know, I
comment
hate
on that.
promises.
So much for
More
a
trouble
light
than
topic,
anything.
Dr. Jerry.
Yeah, because nothing is unbreakable. That's the thing.
That
Yeah,
is
that's
true as
true.
well.
Yeah.
That is
We're talking about people who make promises and how they don't get validation, or especially if they exceed, they don't get more validation, they don't get more gratitude. I don't know. Maybe I'm a cynic, but I'm long gone past the expecting gratitude or expecting, because
Thank
people
you, yeah.
people just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just don't.
And if you expect, then you get disappointed.
Then you get hurt.
Yes.
You get hurt.
Yep.
But at the same time, I cannot imagine my life without promises.
Oh, why?
I can't.
Yeah, how?
Wait,
Promises.
you making the promise or
Yeah.
other people making
you-
promises
both,
to you?
Both, because it's part of commitment. It's part of commitment.
So do you still say I promise?
I do when I mean it.
Why though?
It's a commitment. I'm making a commitment to you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure, come hell or high water, this is going to happen.
How often do you say it?
Not very often. Not very
To
often.
selected people,
To selected people. Yeah.
Family,
in your
of course.
household.
Family.
not outsiders.
Family. I've done it with friends.
Yeah.
Have you
yeah.
broken anything?
The worst one I broke was to my mom.
Okay.
Aw.
Yeah. But I can't imagine life without promises.
Right.
It's your way of.
It's so non-committal. It's so lacking in meaning.
Okay. Have we all
lacking?
actually think
Lacking
about
in
this,
meaning.
right? Just
Life
recall,
loses
all of us.
meaning.
Have we all made promises to our parents? Have we all?
Wow. No, I don't remember ever.
Me too, boy.
I mean, like little
have.
things, will you get it done? Yeah, sure, I promise I'll get it done. It's like, but not loosely, and then you get it done. But like big, like heartbreaking promises, I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
said it out
Yeah,
loud.
I
you
never
know?
felt like I needed to promise my parents anything.
Yeah, like I can't imagine
But
what
it's
I would
not
promise
the
my parents.
Other way around, actually. So it's so interesting that you brought it up. So sometimes the kid to the parent is more the dismissive. I promise. I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But think about the parent to the child. Think about the parent to the child. And when FD said the unspoken promise, and I promised to tell you what happened, to my start of the week,
Yeah.
early in the morning, right? So if my face is a bit puffy today, it's only because last night the tears rolled
Oh no.
after my support group. So every third Monday of the month, we have Healing Hearts, where we support mothers whose children have completed suicide. And imagine this: broken promises. Now, from a parent to a child, we make promises, and those that are parents understand what I'm saying. It's unspoken. We promise to care for you and love you and protect you forever. Okay, and for these mothers, there's a perceived broken promise, and they are the giver of this promise, but now there is no receiver and no one to give them any feedback whatsoever.
Yep.
And there's no way to turn back. Oh no!
You got me started again.
No, not just Angel. I think FD also is a little touched by this.
Yeah. So it was really, really heartbreaking. And just a little insertion here to appeal to everyone who knows someone that is grieving. Please don't tell them to get over it. Life goes on. You need to move on. I'm gonna borrow what one mother said yesterday. You've never had to go to the bottom of the block to look at what is there
Yeah.
and find your child there.
Oh my
You
God.
never had to see that tiny coffin.
Yeah.
You never had to touch the cold, cold skin. And you never had to see your child go into that fire. So don't tell me to get over it and life goes on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So just a little appeal to those. Let's be a bit more sensitive. And Angel, if you were tearing today,
Yeah.
last
I can't
night,
imagine.
it was too much for me.
I think this is a very good
Yeah.
reminder,
Yeah.
Jerry, because there are many people who think that they're doing the right thing by asking, their friends or whoever
Yeah.
to move on.
try
that.
You know,
Yeah.
let's just get on with life.
Yeah.
But it's so hard when they're broken
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
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 I have a family member who's going through clinical depression. And it's very, very difficult to say things like get over it, move on, because
Yeah. Yep.
you never know, one statement
Yeah.
might drive that person
Yep.
to commit suicide.
Yes.
Yep. True.
And it's so difficult to try and balance.
Absolutely.
It's so hard.
But I think
Yeah.
what will be really good is if we know someone like that, constantly remind them that they're not alone and they shouldn't be keeping everything to themselves.
And they're
Talk to
strong,
someone.
and they're
Talk
strong.
to
But
someone.
sometimes it's not easy
I
for
know.
that
It's
person
not.
to talk to.
But it's
talk to
easier
someone.
for us to say that.
Yeah, it's
Talk
very-
to someone.
yeah.
Because we hope that it'll get into their heads, that they don't have to just keep everything.
They're not alone.
Yeah, because sometimes, as you mentioned, right, some of them might have suicidal tendencies and all that
Yeah.
because they're not thinking rationally anymore.
What I tried to
so
say
it's important
is-
for them to talk to someone.
is to dig deep inside and know that they are strong. Wherever it is, they have to dig deep. Just go in there and screw what the world thinks, because
Yeah.
that's just me though.
Okay,
Yeah.
stand by.
Yeah.
We're back on.
And while we were on the Big Show TV, we were talking about individuals who might be suffering from depression right now. Some clinical depression.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more serious. And I just want to add, Jerry, you're a psychologist. You're not a psychiatrist. But for people who have clinical depression, I think we all have come across someone or other in our lives. Would it be the right thing to do to ask them to go and see a psychiatrist? Because we are also saying, let's not write these people off and say things like, oh, just get on with life, especially for some people who may have lost a loved one
Yeah.
or something like that. They need their own time to grieve. They might not show it to the world, but deep down inside, they're heartbroken, And my question to you is, for people who are suffering from clinical depression and might even be on the verge of suicide, would it be okay for friends to just tell them to go see a psychiatrist? Because as we all know, sometimes people who suffer from clinical depression, might need medication more than anything else.
So the starting point can be anywhere. It's okay. So if they're uncomfortable to go to the psychiatrist, start from your GP. And then, the GP will be able to assess and do the referral. If they're more comfortable talking to a counselor or a psychologist, start from there first. We will then do the referral. If they are very resistant, the last thing you want is to bring and drag them there, unless they are very, very unsafe. So, because that might completely turn them away if they are not ready.
So are you saying a GP could probably prescribe something for them? without going to see a
Are they
psychiatrist?
qualified?
Something mild, something that
relaxant.
is not so, a relaxant, something that is, not the psychiatric medicine yet.
Yeah.
And just to tide them over, give them enough clarity to then go to the next step.
So
Yeah.
you as a psychologist do not prescribe medication, right?
Nope.
So if this
Nope.
person has seen a psychiatrist already, got the medication, do they continue to see a psychiatrist or do they move on to a psychologist?
So we do different work. So we would then tag team with the psychiatrist to do the more therapeutic work, the talk therapy, and all the other therapies. Whereas the psychiatrist will then look after the chemicals in the body.
Right. Okay. So the psychiatrist does not become a psychologist as well, right?
Not
Not really.
usually.
Okay,
Not
all right.
usually.
I do want to state something here because I've heard this so many times and it gets under my skin. There are a lot of people out there, and there are people watching us and listening to us right now, who are worried that psychologists will talk among themselves about patients. And Jerry, you don't. You have the same rules that a doctor has, don't you?
So we don't go blabbering out. So on our portfolios, we might have friends of friends, we might have people that we know, but it doesn't mean that we're going to go out there and tell the whole world that, this person came to us. No.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Glenn, who cheekily sits on my couch, then I would tell the whole world.
That's okay because he's not your patient, so
He's
it's
not your
fine,
patient,
right?
so it's fine.
Yeah.
So you have the same doctor-patient rules that a normal doctor would have.
Confidentiality, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just
Yes,
wanted to
and we
state
hold
that.
to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we hold to that very, very, very strongly. And I'm gonna help Angel here. So
Okay,
the
yay.
mummies that we were talking about, and we were talking about promises today, right? So mummies are very, very strong. They are super strong. So they still do make promises. So they do the advocacy work, they do a lot of different work. And I want to say that making promises is so, so, so important because it gives us direction, it gives us goals,
Yeah.
it gives us motivation, that's the second one, and it taps onto our ability so we can trust ourselves. That's why it's so important, because then we can look at ourselves and say, I've got this. So when we make promises, it's not for the other person, it's really for ourselves. And these mummies still keep making promises. They don't stop, even though there was this perceived broken promise. So if they can do it, all of us can continue to make promises.
Yeah.
Right, that's a nice one.
The other thing we need to remember about making promises is don't procrastinate over a promise. If you've made a promise, get it done. Don't procrastinate because sometimes too long is never.
So, Dr. Jerry,
Come
are
on,
you
you promised me a Porsche, Dad.
so
Where is it?
Dr. Jerry, are you saying that it's good for every one of us to practice, well, not practice, but at least make a couple of promises and make sure we stick to it?
Yep. So as long as you be calm, keep within the limits, and be honest. So I think we didn't complete the last one. Being honest is being honest with the abilities that you have. So I spoke about, knowing your abilities when you make that promise, and being honest with your abilities so that you don't promise the sky, the moon, the stars, and then cannot deliver.
Right.
Yeah, and things do happen, right? So no one's going to fault you when things happen. But again, you just have to be honest. So if you're going to be there at a certain time and the bus or the train breaks down, and no one's going to fault you unless you are perpetually late.
Yeah.
I will fault the person. I'll go like, see, You made a promise. If you didn't promise, it would have been fine. But you promised.
But I guess it's circumstantial depending on what you're turning up for as well. You know, if it's something that do or die, that timing is so important, not so much a lunch or anything else, then it depends on how severe that was.
So that means you're saying there's small promises and there are big promises. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm not saying. No, I'm saying if it's circumstantial, if you're late for something because the train broke down and it's not like a court proceeding or something like that, then it's not so bad, right? I don't know. Is that true, Dr. Jerry?
I would say so. I like the comment that Siu Ching actually put. It reveals one's character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you make a promise, it is consistent across different environments.
Yeah.
So that one I have to go against Angel a little bit, because there is continuity, there is pervasiveness across all the different environments. So when you make a promise, you keep it in every different environment.
A promise is a promise.
A promise is a promise. We've been talking a lot about older people, but I think we need to also remember that as parents, we make promises to young children, and it's little things like, oh, we're going to go to Toys R Us on Sunday, and you don't go. To the child,
but you didn't say
It's a
promise.
big
Right?
thing.
You didn't
No,
say
I
promise.
promise
I promise I'll take you to Toys R Us.
to
It's a
Toys R
big
Us.
Because you must
thing.
mention
And
the
you
word
don't.
promise.
Yeah.
It's a big
It's
thing to the
massive.
child. It's huge to the child.
Just say, I didn't say this Sunday. I meant like a
No.
Sunday.
Kids are not stupid, Sean.
That's
Kids are not stupid.
that's backpedaling. No,
Yeah,
you can't
kids
do
are
that.
stupid.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
can't do-
Never mattered to me,
So-
really.
that's why.
So many
Stingle,
promises
stingle.
were made actually when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Maybe
Like,
you
okay.
don't remember.
Huh?
You maybe-
but no. What I'm saying is there's a mix. Obviously, there were promises that were kept, and there were promises that were not.
Yeah,
for
same
for,
for me
for
as well,
whatever
yeah.
reason. You know what I mean? I mean, when your parent gives you a reason as to why they couldn't keep their promise, what do you do?
But parents are so
Yeah.
great at making
Right?
excuses, though.
Yeah,
They'll be
exactly.
like, oh, you know, the
You said it.
Yeah, no,
you
it's
said
true.
it. Yeah,
So
no,
I didn't put
agree.
enough gas
I
in the
completely
car.
agree
The
with that.
tire was flat.
but also understand.
Not everyone's an
especially-
FD, yeah?
No, no. And I've made these mistakes. Parents have got to understand that children are not stupid.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
reach a point in their lives where they know the difference between a reason for something not happening
And an excuse.
It's different, and they know it.
Yeah.
They know it, and that's when they lose faith in you.
Yeah.
That's when they lose
Not
faith.
lose faith.
Parents, I've got this for parents, right? The 3 E's that we as parents can do. One, we need to set the example. So the first E. Second E, we set the expectations. We put in the boundaries. So it is absolutely, permissible to say, if it's I'm gonna bring you to the beach this Sunday. If it rains, we will postpone it. So we set the expectations.
Yeah.
And then the third one is, when the child does keep that promise, please exclaim. You know how many times we don't condition the child to keep the promise because we just let it float past us like it is just something to be discounted or dismissed. But children need to know that they are on the right track. So if they do keep the promise, go, well done. Thank you for keeping that promise.
Yeah.
Then they imprints in their head so that they would do it again the next time.
And they grow up to be great adults who keep their word as well.
Yeah. So kids, just keep calm and carry on. When I say this, I'm talking about like if your parent, let's say, breaks a promise or whatever, it's okay. The next time, you go for something more. Because once they break that
Use it
promise,
against them.
the next time when they promise, right, they will have to definitely live up to that promise.
Just remind them of
Right?
the promise that you broke.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So, for example, if they
Okay.
promise you a trip, let's say, to let's say KL, which is nothing, right?
Yeah.
and they break that promise, next time ask for Japan.
So you remember
Well-
the KL trip that didn't happen?
Yes.
So now,
Well,
Japan.
kids, if you're watching us right now, why are you not in school?
Yeah.
Should just be parents now.
Kids, you must always have a plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Do
right.
not listen to Uncle Glenn.
No,
Yes,
never listen
that's
to
the
Uncle
plan.
Glenn. The promise is that we will make sure you don't listen to Uncle Glenn ever.
Don't
Uncle
make
Glenn, please never call me uncle.
Uncle, just
just-
call him Uncle.
Supreme.
or just G.
G. Mr. G.
The original G.
The G man. Don't call me the G spot. No.
Oh, dear.
G man is fine.
Glenn!
Oh,
Unless he puts you on the spot. lah.
Hey, we are on Facebook, right?
Facebook?
No.
Okay, we go back
Only
on
on
air and we
Facebook.
can wrap things
Yeah.
up
Then
a
you
little
can
bit.
talk about that
Okay,
again.
on
do
air
have-
have to.
I do have one comment from Rachel that I would like to make
Okay.
when we go back on it.
Okay.
Here's a comment from Rachel, and it's something I've realized as my kids have grown up and they've gotten married and they're thinking of starting their own families. Rachel says, when a promise is given to the child and it is broken, they will do the same when they grow up.
Yep.
I understand what she's trying to say. Your children, a great part of them when they grow up will be modeled on you.
Absolutely.
And if it was okay for you to do all these
Yeah.
things, then it's okay for them to do it.
Yeah.
And that is something we have to remember. That children model themselves after us.
I say bad behavior is all about bad upbringing.
It is much
So-
of the time.
Yeah.
Much of the time. Jerry, do you have anything to say to our viewers and our listeners as we
just to
round this up?
Yeah, just to round up. So I was from, not many people know, but I was from a Chinese school when I was in secondary school, and we had Confucius, studies and all the Chinese studies. And this, when I was doing this topic, this phrase came in, and it's in Chinese. 君子一言驷马难追. So it means that if a gentleman gives his word, even though so in the past in China, they'll be tied, on their limbs, and 4 horses will pull them
Yeah.
in different directions.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need a
God, I-
chiropractor to do that, man.
my last episode of the Vikings
They
that
did
happened.
that? Oh,
yes,
wow.
the
Okay.
Russian Vikings did it.
Yeah.
World horse.
So
Sorry.
what it means that if you make that promise, and if the gentleman makes that promise, even if he is dying, he keeps his promise.
Oh, wow.
And that is character.
Yes.
Wow.
No, lah, that's a
Well, what's the
standard-
point of
We-
character when you're dead?
We
why.
we need 4 horses now. And some rope. That's quite drastic, Dr. Jerry.
No wonder you don't make promises, but he kept the promise.
Wow.
Anyways,
But-
君子一言驷马难追. So that's for everyone today.
All right. Character, huh? Character.
Character.
Build that character.
Yes.
Character.
All right.
Thank
But
you, Dr. Jerry.
Be brave,
No
but
worries.
Don't die.
But don't die. That's what I always say. Yeah, be brave, but
No,
don't
I'm
die.
not expecting anybody to die. I'm saying let's keep our promises. Let's make those promises. Be brave, make those promises, and keep those
the
promises.
promises.
And only make the ones that you can keep, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but that person
exactly.
you're talking about, he was, he made a promise. He was brave, and then he died.
That's why. I promise still didn't get killed.
Idiom.
It's an idiom.
Okay.
Don't be an idiom.
And I promise to be back next week unless something happens.
Oi.
Oh, that's a disclaimer. That's a disclaimer. How can you do that? That's not a promise. I promise to see you unless I cannot.
Yes.
Okay. You take care, Jerry. Have
Take
a
care,
wonderful
Jerry.
week ahead, yeah?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.